This is Prashant Jinde. Welcome you all again in this online lecture series of the subject element of wet processing. Today we will be going to study a very first process taken place in the wet process houses. This is nothing but a fabric grading system. Fabric coming from the weaving or knitting called as grey fabric. And during the manufacturing of grey fabric, a lot of defects may generated. Higher the defect, lower will be the quality of grey fabric and vice versa. So anybody can prefer the fabric with a less defect, but defects are inevitable. They cannot be zero. So defect may be higher or lower in a number, but they are present. And based on the number of defect present in the fabric, they are graded as a first quality or a second quality. Price of the fabric is mainly decided by the quality of a fabric. Higher price can be fetched by the first grade quality. Hence, to identify whether fabric is a first grade quality or second grade quality, fabric inspection is needed. And fabric has to be inspected visually. So, fabric inspection is basically a visual examination of a fabric. On object of a fabric inspection and a grading system is to observe the fabric from start to end for the detection of a fault generated during the manufacturing process and tag each defect with a number based on a point system and grade the fabric. The meaning of the second point is visually examine the fabric from start to end, and what actually need to observe is the defect. So observe the defects in the fabric from start to end, and yes, defects are inevitable, so they likely to come, and tag each defects with a particular number, give a number to a particular defect, and at the end grade the fabric according to the addition of these numbers. So basically the fabric inspection is done to find out whether fabric is of first quality, second quality, or it doesn't have any kind of quality. So this is the gray inspection object. Equipment is used to inspect the fabric visually, known as a fabric inspection machine. In front of you, this is a fabric inspection machine. A special equipment is used for visual inspection of the fabric, and this is the machine. Machine is designed to mount a roll of a gray fabric at the back of this machine, and fabric moves over the illuminating surface and ultimately winds onto a take-up roller. Take-up roller having a motor drive, right? And this machine is equipped with a measuring device. So how much amount of length of a fabric is inspected, that can be observed. So overall, this machine is having illuminating surface. As I already told you, illuminating surface means such a surface where high intensity of a light is flashing on a fabric, so that the smallest of the smallest fault can easily be observed when fabric is moving from back to the front of the machine, and the fabric is constantly moving forward and gets wind onto the another roller which is present on the take-up rollers. So this is a simple machine known as fabric inspection machine. The gray inspection and grading process in detail. So the fabric which is pass the fabric over the illuminating surface, and this illuminating surface is kept at 45 to 60 degree angle tilt, right? And it is basically for the ergonomical purpose. Now when person, if he is standing in front of this fabric, a person, if it is standing in front of the fabric, so that person can easily visualize the whole fabric from edge to edge, right? And this illuminating surface is around 175 lux illuminated. That means the intensity of light is already measured in the lux. So lux is a unit of intensity of light. And light source is generally used is nothing but a white fluorescent lamp. Okay. Afterwards, after inspecting the fabric, right, then this fabric is wind onto the winding roller, and that winding speed is around 15 yards per minute. So there is a motor provided to a take-up roller. When that motor rotates, that rotation is, when motor is rotated, that rotation is given to this take-up roller, and or you can say winding roller, and then ultimately the fabric is passes over this winding or take-up roller and winds onto the fabric at a rate of 15 yards per minute. And with this speed, a person has to visualize whole fabric from edge to edge. Visually inspect the fabric and find the defects by observing the fabric from edge to edge. As I earlier told you, during this speed, a person in front of this illuminating surface is constantly watching the fabric against the defect. So he watched the fabric, observed the fabric, whether fault is present or not, from edge to edge. Once a defect is observed, stop the machine and mark the defect with either highlighter or tag it with a sticker. Generally in industry, tagging a defect is a common. So based on the intensity of a defect, there are various color tags, and if fortunately defect observes, the operator stop the machines and take a tag based on intensity of a defect and place and stick on the fabric. So from other processes, the further processes or sequenced processes, operator can know or understand, yes, this is tag, means there is something wrong with the fabric, there is a defect present. So tagging is generally common in industry. Record each defect points on the paper and calculate the grade based on the grading point system. As I earlier told you, if this is a 40-yard fabric length, total length, and out of which he observes constantly and completely 40 yards, and he finds defects, he tags the defect, and he note down the defect points based on intensity of defect with other paper. Over here there is a paper and pad on which he constantly write where at what meter the fabric is having what kind of a defect. So he's constantly mentioning the defect, its intensity, their points based on grading system. There are basically two important point system, those are used in the industry, and based on these point system, fabric is graded, whether it is first quality, second quality. Let's talk about the 4-point system. Over here there is a standard, ASTM standard D5430, and ASTM stand for American Standard for Textile Materials. So basically these are the standards used to identify defects and give the defect based on the standard. So there are, in the standard, the 4-point system assigns 1, 2, 3 and 4 penalty points based on the intensity. If a defect is smaller, it gives you 1. If defect is not a small, but it is let's say the biggest defect, in that case maximum penalty point is 4, right? and these penalty points are given to according to the size, quality, and significance of the defect. Maximum point allotted to a single defect is 4. As I already told you, maximum 4 points can be allotted to a worst case. So let's understand that a defect measured in the length way direction and width way direction are having the same point system, right? If a defect is horizontal and if defect is vertical, right, there is no difference in between the giving a point. If let's say 20-inch defect is in the width way and 20-inch defect in the length way, both is having a 4-point system, right? And how these points are given based on the intensity of defects we will see in the next slide, but let's talk about the 10-point system. Now 10-point system is the difference is only giving a points or numbers, or here 10-point systems are assigned 1, 3, 5 and 10 penalty points according to the size, quality and significance of a defect. Maximum point allotted to a single defect is 10. That means if defect is worst, in that case 10 point is given to that particular defect, and if defect is very small, in that case based on intensity and size of defect 1, 3 and 5 points can be allotted. A defect measured in the lengthwise direction are and width way direction are actually allotted a different points. That means in 4-point system there is no difference. If let's say if in 4-point system defect size is 20-inch length way and defect size in 20-inch width way, right, you allot both the defects at the 4-point, right? But in case of 10-point system, length way defect is having different points and width way defects are having a different points. What I mean, you can understand in the next slide. Now here it is very important what could be the defect size and what could be the penalty point respectively. Or here you can see in the 4-point system, if defect length is 3 inch, right? If defect length is 3 inch, you can give a penalty point of 1. If defect size is in between 3 inch to 6 inch, then in that case 2 point, 6 inch to 9 inch 3, greater than 9 inch 4. And if there is a hole present of up to 1 inch, you can allot 2 penalty points, and if hole is greater than 1 inch, you can allot 4 points, right? Or here you can see 1 point is given to a defect length up to 3 inch, 2 point is given to a defect length between 3 inch to 6 inch, 3 point penalty point are given to a defect size of 6 inch to 9 inch, and 4 point is given to a defect length is greater than 9 inch. You can observe this is a 3 table. 3 ones are 3, 3 twos are 6, 3 threes are 9 and greater than 9. You can easily remember this length by remembering the tables of 3, right? And in case of 10-point system, what are the different penalty points? Over here you can see there is warp way, there are different penalty points, and weft way there are different penalty points, right? Up to 1 inch 1 penalty point, within 1 to 5 3 penalty points, 5 to 10 5 penalty points, 10 inch to 36 inch penalty point is 10, and greater than 36 we can say it is also considered in a penalty point as a 10. So in case of weft way, if weft way defect length is 1 inch, you can allot 1 penalty point. If weft way defect is within 1 inch to 5 inch, you can allot 3 penalty points. If defect is in between 5 inch to half the width of a fabric, in that case you allot 5 penalty points. And if weft way defect is within half width to a full width, in that case penalty point is 10, right? This is a very important part as far as defect size and penalty points are concerned. So you should remember, in 4-point system there is a threes table, and in 10-point system there is a fives table, right? You can see 5 ones are 5, 1 inch, 5 inch, 10 inch, and greater than 10 inch, right? 1, 3, 5, and 10 respective penalty points. Once we understand the defect size and their respective penalty points, now we can understand what is the criteria of grading in 4-point system. Let's say determine the total points per 100 square yard fabric, and total points per 100 square yard fabric, you can have this formula, right? And then when you call the fabric is first grade and second grade, there is a condition: if total point per square yard is less than 40, right? And if the total penalty point per square yard is more than 40, in that case the fabric is said to be a second grade. We need to take an example, and with the example I will show you how a fabric is graded, whether it's a first quality or second quality. But let's understand the criteria is that first quality criteria is if total points per 100 square yard is less than 40, in that case we can grade the fabric as a first grade, and second grade if the total points per 100 square yard is more than 40. You just remember the number 40, right? You just remember the number 40. If total defect point is less than 40, first grade. If defect point is less than 40 is, or rather sorry, it is more than 40, in that case it is second grade fabric. In 10-point grading system, what is the criteria for grading? Now first determine the total points available in the length of a fabric. If, let's consider, we observe the fabric of 40 yards, right? And in that case, if I observe there are 30 defect points, so in that case whether my fabric is first quality or second quality, there is a criteria. For first quality, total defect point should be less than the yardage of the fabric. So how much yard that we have observed? 40 yards. And how much total defect points are there? 30. So 30 is less than 40, means our fabric is first grade fabric. In reverse, if our fabric is having a 50 grade points and we observe 40 yards, in that case still our fabric is the first quality, because the 40 points are also considered as a first grade. So when we consider the second grade fabric as a second grade, now we observe 40 yard fabric, and in that case we observe actually 50 total defect points. So 50 is greater than 40, so in that case fabric is graded as a second grade fabric. So for clarity purpose, I'm going to give you an example and convert them into whether you can able to see and you can able to identify, judge whether the given fabric is first grade or second grade in 4-point and 10-point system. So let's start and understand the example. So here you can see this is our fabric, which is having a length of about 40 yard and width is about 36 inch, right? This is 36 inch width and 40 yard length. This is the whole fabric, and the whole fabric is having these defects. Let's say this is vertical line. That vertical line defect is having 40 inch length. This is a diagonal line which is having a 5-inch defect. Again diagonal line, 2-inch defect, and 2-inch, 5-inch, 10. What these are? These are the length of a fault, right? In this case 5 inch means the length of defect is 5 inch. In this case, the length of defect is 36 inch. Length of defect is 10 inch. Hole, there is a hole which is of having 1 inch in diameter. Length of a defect is 7 inch, and again this diagonal defect is having a 20 inch length. So according to the 4-point system, we make a chart that is defect size and respective points that we already know. And let's start and put a tally mark one by one based on the size of a defect. So 40 inch, you can see this is the first defect, 40 inch, which is come under the greater than 9 inch. So it has a 4 penalty point. We just mark tally as one tally mark. Let's understand 5 inch defect size, which is under the category in between 3 inch to a 6 inch. So it has a 2 penalty point and 1 tally mark. Then 2 inch defect goes up to a 3 inch size defect, and which is having 1 penalty point, 1 tally mark. 36 inch fabric defect goes greater than 9 inch. So earlier we already have a 40 inch in this category, 1 tally mark, and 36 is second tally mark. 10 inch again greater than 9 inch, so third tally mark. Then hole of 1 inch again goes to a 1 inch hole, 1 tally mark. Then 7 inch defect is under the category of 6 inch to 9 inch, so it has 3 penalty point, 1 tally mark. And now there is a 20 inch defect length, which is come under the greater than 9 inch, so it has a 4 penalty points and 4 tally mark. So we already cover all the defects, right? We cover all the defects in the 40 yard length and allotted a tally mark respectively. And now just what is the remaining thing is multiply points with the tally mark, right? So here 1 point into 1 tally mark, it becomes 1 defect point. 2 points into 1 tally mark into 2 into 1, 2 defect point. 3 into 1, 3 into 1, 3, and 4 point into 4 tally marks become 16 defect points. 2 point into 1 is equal to 2. So addition of this 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 16 plus 2, it becomes 24, right? When we observe the whole fabric of length 40 yard and 36 inch width in that particular area of a fabric, what we observe, how many defect points are there? There are 24 defect points according to the 4-point system, right? Now consider the 10-point system. Now here there are certain defects, those are weft way. There are certain defects, those are warp way, right? These are the warp way, weft way, and this is again a warp way, right? So if I consider the 10-point system, right, this is 1 inch to 5 inch, there are 3 defect points. In this case 1 2 3 4 continuous defect points are there in the 4-point system, but in 10-point system penalty points are 1 3 5 and 10, right? There are warp way defects which is coming within 1 inch to 5 inch, so it has 1 tally mark. There are 2 penalty points which are 10 inch, which are between 10 inch to 36 inch, which are those, let's say, warp way defect. So this is 140 inch warp way defect, and second defect is here 20 inch, right? So 20 inch and 40 inch, those are the 2 major defects in warp direction. Those carries 10 penalty points, 2 tally mark. So just multiply 3 into 1 3 and 10 into 2, it becomes 20. Similarly, we plotted the weft way defects and mark tally marks, and ultimately the total defects point over here is written over here, right? So total defects according to a 10-point system is 49, and total defect points in 4-point system is 24. Let's talk about whether our fabric is first grade quality or second grade quality, right? According to the 4-point system and according to a 10-point system. Earlier we already calculated the defect points is equal to 24 and total defect point according to 10 point system is 49. So this formula, that is total points per 100 square yard, is equal to, when we plug in 3600, which is constant value, into total defect points. What is the total defect points here is 24, right? So we write the 24. This is constant, 3600 is constant, multiply total defect point is 24 and divided by the area of a fabric. So area of fabric, how we calculate? 36 into 40. So fabric length in yard into fabric length in inches, 40 into 36. So it becomes 60. So when you do a multiplication and division, the answer is 60. So 60 is nothing but total points per 100 square yard. Right, what is our criteria for grading? Our criteria for grading for first grade fabric is if total defect points per 100 square yard is less than 40, then we consider this fabric as first grade quality. And in what is the criteria for second grade quality? If the total defect points per 100 square yard is more than 40. So what is our answer? Answer is 60. So which condition is satisfied, whether first quality or second quality? Yes. Does a total defect points is 60 is less than 40? No. So our fabric is not first grade fabric. What is second criteria? The second grade fabric is nothing but total defect point per 100 square yard is more than 40. Yes, is it so? 60 is more than 40. So what we consider and think is that our fabric is a second grade fabric according to a 4-point system, right? Have you understood how this calculation works? Very simple. Initially we count these defects, give a point, penalty points, and multiply those and calculate the total defect points. Once we calculate the total defect points, we just plug these total defect points into our formula and gives you 60. And this 60 is less than 40 or greater than 40? It is greater than 40. So greater than 40 criteria means second grade fabric. If our defect points, let's say it would have been 30 defects points, then in that case this fabric would be of first grade quality. But right now, considering all those defects and total defect point is 60, our fabric is second grade fabric. So 4-point system shows this fabric is second grade. So let's consider and start understanding the 10-point system. So in 10-point system, total defect points become 49, as I already know these things. So first grade what is the criteria for first grade quality? The total defect point should be less than the yardage of the fabric, right? So what is the length of a fabric? 40 yards, right? 40 yards. And what is the total defect points? Is 49. So our first grade criteria, if the total defect point is less than the length or the yardage of the fabric, in that case we consider this fabric as first grade fabric, right? But is this condition satisfied? No. 49 is not less than 40. So what is the next criteria? Second grade fabric. So second grade fabric is nothing but total defect point if it is more than the length or yardage of the fabric. In that case we consider this fabric as a second grade fabric. So does these conditions satisfy? Our total defect point is 49 and the length of a fabric is 40 yards. So 49 is greater than 40? Yes. So our second criteria is matched, and according to a 10-point system, this fabric is also graded as a second grade fabric, right? So as far as grading system is concerned, with example, I think you understand how grading system works and how to allot different penalty points according to the 4-point system and 10-point system.